Alright, so I'm up here sifting lead with my little box I made, and how I made this was I used some 2x4s, screwed them together on the sides, made myself a little box. I put handles on each end so it's easy to hold on to, and then just screwed some wire mesh or expanded metal to the bottom of it. And you got to make sure the holes in your wire mesh are going to be small enough to where you're not letting all your big bullets through. So this one will even catch most 22s. It's about the 22 caliber size. It will almost let little 22 bullets through, but it will catch like your 9mm and 45 and 357 and everything bigger than that. So yeah, the problem is though, the smaller your mesh is, the more trash you're going to catch too. And on this range here, there's quite a bit of trash. I mean, you can see there's skeets, there's pieces of wood, there's all sorts of wood, glass, nails, all sorts of sharp stuff. So when you're doing this, make sure you wear gloves. But I'll show you what I do here. So I'll set my tray down, and what I want to do is I want to come right along the ground here and just skim off the top. Most of your bullets are going to be sitting here within like the first 3 inches of dirt. So I'm just going to come up along and skim off the top, grab a few spots from different places here, a few shovelfuls. I'm just using a tiny little shovel, but you can kind of see them on the top. But there's a lot just underneath the first like inch of dirt too. You don't want to be digging any big holes or anything. There'll be a few rifle rounds in there, but most of your lead's coming from bigger pistol rounds. A little 55 grain full 5.56, they're not going to add up as fast as a bunch of 9mm 45s. So you also want to be at a this is just a big hill up in the desert, but it gets quite a bit of shooting traffic, especially on the weekends. I'm up here right now, and I've been sifting for probably about 45 minutes, and it's 8:33 right now. And sunrise was a little after 7. So you want to get up here like early in the morning on a weekday. Like I'm up here before work, and yeah. So you can see it's gonna look something like that. You're gonna have all your dirt in there. And then you just want to grab it and sift. And it's gonna be a heavy at start, but once you start sifting some, then you're gonna get down, it's gonna look like that, and you can see a lot of trash in there, a lot of dirt clumps and stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab some of that trash, the big clumps I see right off the bat, and throw it out. I'm gonna sift a little bit more, and then I'm gonna take my gloved hand. You definitely don't wanna do this with no gloves on, but you can see all the little dirt clumps in there. If I just take my hand and just rub it over all this, it's going to help break up the dirt clumps. I'll also get some more of that wood and trash and other stuff and rocks, the bigger rocks, but don't go through and pick all of it through unless if you want to. But so then you'll get to there, grab a little bit more trash, just the big stuff, and throw it out. But then you can see you're left with, there's some trash in there still, like a little bit of dirt and stuff, but let me take my glove off. But you can see you've got like bullet jackets, and then you've got a bunch of bullets. A lot of these are bullets. You can see right there, that's all bullets. So a lot of lead. And then what you can see my bucket over here. There's my bucket, and I got quite a bit. I've done probably like 6 of these sifter loads so far, and I'm probably about a quarter of what I'm going to fill this bucket. You don't want to fill them all the way. They get super heavy, and then they'll tip over in your vehicle if you fill them up too much too, and then you got just a big mess. So but yeah, I'll show you. I'll dump this sifter right in. And then don't worry about all that trashes that's in there, because that trash, when you're melting out your lead, which I'll show later, all that trash will float right to the top because lead's super heavy. And so all that trash, the wood, there's like some plastic in there, but yeah, all that trash and plastic will float to the top, and yeah, you'll have just lead at the bottom, and it's easy to sift all that out. There's going to be smoke and stuff, but that's all fine. So I thought I'd quickly talk about some of the stuff I use, because I do it differently than most people when I'm melting down my scrap lead. So what I made is this little stand for my skillet, my cast iron pan, and I made it out of horseshoes, and then I have in the middle of the horseshoes I've got this steel pipe, and then I welded on some nuts and bolts, and what it's doing is it's holding this. This is a lot different than most people use, but this is, if you guys melt aluminum or brass or whatever, this is like the burner that I use in my foundry. And so I made this it basically goes up in there, and then I tighten down those bolts there, and it holds this the tip of this in there. And this thing, a lot of people that use the little propane stoves or burners or whatever, I guess it takes them like 30 minutes to heat their lead up and get it a nice molten pool in the bottom of their pan. But with this thing, I've got a molten pool in about like 8 to 10 minutes. So it's definitely a lot faster. It probably uses a lot more propane, but it's got a nice regulator on it, and I can see what I'm doing there and everything. So this is just what I use. And then some tools that make it a lot easier. I got my cast iron skillet. This one's actually bowed up a little bit in the middle. You can see from all that heat, it's warped it. But it still works fine. I might get a better one eventually. This one's getting pretty, hopefully it doesn't spring a leak today, but it's pretty rusty, just like a lot of the other stuff out here. And then I've got a few things you can pick up from Goodwill or a thrift store. And this one I use a lot when I'm separating the lead from the jackets and all the rest of the trash and the wood that's in there. And then I've got this one that I use. It's kind of like the same concept as this, but this one works a lot. This one works a lot better than this one does. And then I've got a little ladle that I use to scoop some stuff off, another spoon, and I got a bunch more spoons and stuff you can use, but you can get a lot of this stuff for like a couple bucks at a thrift store, so don't be buying brand new stuff for this. Then I got vice grips, which you'll see why I use those later. And then I've got this I just made this with an old hinge and some metal, and this is what I use to grab my ingots, my lead ingots, because they're pretty soft, and it's got little like nails welded on there, so I can just grab them really easily and move them around when they're hot. And then you're going to want some leather gloves. I recommend leather, but if you got some like nice thick welding gloves or something, those will work. And then you're going to want something metal, like some old roof tin. If you got that, that'll work. Or what I like to use, this holds a little better. This is an old like drawer out of like a filing cabinet or a desk drawer or something, but it's metal. You want something metal to put all those hot jackets and all that trash in when you're scooping it off. And then you can buy molds, ingot molds from like Lee and RCBS, and there's a bunch of different people making them. But if you're kind of cheap like me and you've got a welder and some scrap angle iron laying around, I took angle iron, cut it in an angle, a slight angle at the end, and then took an angle iron, just welded it at the ends. So I've got 3 of those, and they're all pretty rusty, but it doesn't really matter. It's just some surface rust. There's not like big flakes or anything. And then there's another way I used, did them, and this was some angle or some metal channel I had laying around, and then I capped off the ends with some sheet metal there. 1/4 inch would probably be better to cap off these ends, but it works fine when you're doing lead and stuff. And then this one's the same concept. I just made it like twice the size of this one. And so these are big ingots when you do those. But these ones are the ones I like to use. They're just nice, small size, easy to move around, and melt back in my Lee melting pot. But you can buy them, or you can make these ones for, like, these things are super cheap. You just go down and buy some angle iron. You can make these for like basically nothing. So.
All right, so you can see all the smoke coming off of it. I'm starting to get a good lead pull in the bottom. But there's a lot of smoke coming off right now because of all the trash that's burning, the plastic and the wood. But that's perfectly normal, so it's hard to hear me right now because I have a respirator on, and that's exactly what you want to do, because you do not want to be breathing in all this stuff. It'll mess you up.
here's all the lead we got from the day's melt. I just pulled them all out of the water, so they're still a little bit wet. But once they dry off, I'll weigh them up. But for now, I think we did pretty good. I got 12 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of these of my angle iron mold bars. So that's pretty good. And then we got 2 full of these lead bars, the bigger ones. So that's pretty good. And then 2 of those. And then probably about 1/2 one. And then this was the last bit of lead I poured. And that's probably not even 1/4 of one. But maybe 1/5, but that's just the end of it. So yeah, everything's cooling down now, the rest of my equipment, so I can put it away. But yeah, pretty decent. I'll wait for them to dry off, and then I'll weigh them up and get a weight. For the total amount of lead, I just weighed it all up, and for about half a 5-gallon bucket of scrap lead, we got 33 pounds and 11 ounces. So not too bad. This is some pretty clean lead. They'll make some nice bullets, so not bad.